We did it, gang. We did it. 5 seasons of Babylon 5. 5 seasons of Babylon 5. And that was quite an adventure. Before I start getting into my thing, I want to hear what y'all's thoughts to this mission.
I really enjoyed watching it with you guys. I really enjoyed our discussions. Re-exploring the show as an adult. Actually paying attention, because it was something that my dad was into, that I was there for when he watched it. And I learned a lot about his perspective and thought about what my perspective was back as a preteen, and now in my 40s I get to look at it as a author and with a new perspective and understanding of social constructs and psychology and politics and everything that Babylon 5 does so well.
What about you, Sundays? It was your first time going through this whole thing like consciously, because you would watch me watch it. And so when I invited you to check it out because you're like a first timer, tell me, what does a first timer think about this?
It has definitely informed my trust in Damien. He makes good decisions. He turned me into a Trekkie from, secondhand watching Voyager, and now I'm like all the way in. So when you invited me to do this, I was, pretty stoked about it, because you watch good content and you do things that provoke conversation and, get deeper insight into, social narratives and all the things. And it was like there were a wealth of opportunities to have deep discussions, and that turns, my wheels way better than surface level, slapstick comedy kind of stuff that does not have real substance. The emotional range that this show takes you through was appreciated. It would have you laughing and crying and, really angry and frustrated. And if there's a show that can have a character where you're like, if this person dies, we riot, then the show has done a good job. In this particular show, it was like, if Londo's redeemed, I'll riot.
And you had like a mini riot the other day. Totally unrelated to Londo, but it was kind of funny.
Okay. Sunday be flashing.
Yeah, so I my thoughts are going through it with people at different stages. One, beginners who had never seen it before, and people who are veterans. We started this podcast with a couple of other people who had several things happen to where they couldn't stick around, but that's okay. It's exciting to see and hear people's different perspectives. And even still, because there are a lot of people who are still discovering Babylon 5 right now. There are a lot of podcasts and YouTubes who are exploring it. And it's great because it's getting a lot of the treatment from some of these diehard fans that Star Trek has gotten. And it's wild to me because Star Trek, yes, it is certainly a cultural phenomenon. It's a cultural hallmark. It does a lot of really cool things. Of course, millions of people are going to be into it. But Babylon 5 offers such depth that it tells a different story that Star Trek doesn't always tell. And then with it being such it pioneered a lot of different things too in television. It was basically a serialized show when everything was episodic, and then you saw TV had to follow suit. Star Trek eventually followed suit with Deep Space Nine. I'm not going to jump into the the stories and controversy around that. Plenty of people are doing that, and that's fine. Um, I'm gonna tell you though, I was nervous because I was like, what if I'm just the only one that likes it and everybody else thinks this is horrible? you know, um, I was prepared to deal with that, but to see how everyone dealt with it, or to see the different ways that people engage with the content throughout our time, it was very validating because I'm like, okay, so there's nothing wrong with me. This is good. It's just people are enjoying it in different ways.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the red tape with the corporations kind of messed with the creative process of how it could have came out and
Yeah.
how people could enjoy it. There's also the vocal minority where a lot of people are like, these are things that we want. We don't want certain things, and they are the minority often, but they are very loud.
Yes.
They use their voice more than people who are the have a different perspective, and that's where we need to change things. People with the perspectives outside of the loud minority who feel like they're victimized for no reason at all, um, or just a trauma response that wasn't even theirs in the first place.
Yeah.
We need to start speaking up as well. We need to feel like our voices deserve to be heard.
Yeah. So I guess we can jump into some of the larger themes of the series. We don't have to get into specifics, but I mean, throughout the time that we were recording, Mel, you pointed out how we were seeing things that look so familiar to today. And it's wild because it's almost a blueprint on how authoritarianism can take hold and alter the direction of a society.
Mm.
Um, we saw, first off, it was the way that it started. It started off with kind of a milk toast, liberal society, or liberal government for Earth Force. They were in so many different issues, or they had so many different types of problems that they didn't have the will to solve. They were just like, well, we'll just kick it down the road.
Mhm.
Um, there was that senator that Sinclair dealt with at the beginning. There was that
I mean,
senator.
tell him I'm recording. That's
Yeah.
the retired engineer who has
Oh,
called me twice on
gotcha.
recording, and my engineering has come to let me know that he's called. I will call him back. Thank you.
Awesome. Um, so I was pointing out how that senator that Sinclair was dealing with earlier, and they were trying to get Sinclair to do all of these things, like follow our orders, do exactly as we say. And Sinclair was finding ways around it. For instance, when he solved the workers' strike dispute, he used the law, he used his orders, and he solved it by giving the workers exactly what they demanded. And
Hmm.
the who was it? He was like a negotiator, whoever that guy was. He was a
Oh
union
yeah.
buster. He was pissed about it, but Sinclair was like, "Hey, you said that I could use any means necessary, so these are the means that I find necessary." It was pretty awesome. And then, uh, I like. I want to point out this though, because J. Michael Straczynski touches on this, but this, like, that episode was the strongest one. He does discuss workers' rights. He does discuss workers' issues. And throughout the show, you see blue collar workers who are trying to find their way to be important in the world, in this broader world that's going on. And so that's something that you don't want to forget. Um,
Yeah. We
I,
saw that with the Satari as well. Like we didn't see it in the Satari, but we saw it a little bit in the Centauri. They mentioned it. Like the three were the working class,
oh,
the spiritual
The Minbari. Yes,
Minbari.
yes,
The other one that rhymes. I,
yes.
I didn't
Yep.
see that. But the Minbari had the three different classes: the warrior class, the spiritual class, and the religious class. And the worker
No, no.
class. The
Yeah, the
worker
worker
class we
class.
barely ever saw. but the
Right.
worker class are the important ones. And at the end, when they bring back the gray, she makes that the worker class has more say because
Mm-hmm.
the worker class are the most important. They're the ones that do the most.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't do nothing but
It.
destroy things
Mm-hmm.
or research stuff, like, and
Mm-hmm.
meditate.
Yep.
Well, when it comes to the Centauri, they have a whole slave class.
Yep.
And we had a couple of instances where their people were either trying to fight to get out of the class that they were in, or someone from the upper class, had enough compassion to try to free one individual. But unless I'm wrong, I don't see a true transformation from that particular culture of aliens that made any kind of difference. They were, the same at the end as they were in the beginning, sadly.
Mm.
That's another good point, and I think a good topic to look at the different types of societies that are being explored. And if we can contrast with this with Star Trek, I think this is where they do kind of line up similarly. Um, However, Star Trek is dealing with a. They keep saying utopia. It's a post scarcity society. Humans have solved a lot of their social problems by solving their scarcity problem. And so people have a lot more reason to cooperate than to fight each other. So it's all good. But in Babylon 5 is basically like Geneva or you know what I mean? It's like the United Nations of the galaxy. And they're trying to figure out how do we achieve peace in the galaxy. One, so we don't have this great war again, because the UN became as a result of World War II. In
Mm-hmm.
Babylon 5 came as a consequence of the Earth Minbari War,
Yeah.
and they're not in ideal situations. Earth is still dealing with a capitalist economy. It costs a lot of money to move things around in the galaxy, to even build Babylon 5, to make sure that it is that is their payroll is up. And then when people civilians go to Babylon 5, they get stuck in down below. So they got poor people, they got lower class people, they got gangsters, they got they got thieves, they got lurkers, they got drug addicts, they got all of that stuff happening in that one spot. It's a 5 mile station, but 5 miles ain't really that far when you think about it, with all of those problems kind of condensed in the same place.
Yeah. It condenses all of the problems of capitalism in that 5 miles, 5 by 3 miles.
In a
Because I think
giant
it's 5
soda
miles
can in
wide.
space.
Yeah. Or is it 2 miles wide? It's a cylinder.
Yeah.
It's most definitely a cylinder, but it's five
Yeah.
miles wide, and that's not a lot of space. Like
No.
that's a what 20-minute
Yeah,
drive.
and
Oh,
Sheridan and Delenn
sweetheart,
were
that
gonna
just
walk it.
goes to show the difference between your traffic and ours, because 5 miles is 5 minutes at most.
Oh yeah. Oh, Richmond is during the time of day, depending on the time of day. Oh, wait a minute, 20 minutes? Did I say 20 minutes?
You
Yeah,
did.
yeah, cause like my where I go to buy groceries is like a mile and a half away, and it takes me about 5 minutes.
Oh wow.
That's wild.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why,
Okay.
but
You'd be
Okay.
better off walking.
I used to.
Yo.
That's 45 minutes, so I will take my 5 minute.
um so the different types of cultures or governments or societies. The Centauri, they are an imperialistic society with a slave economy. Gross. Uh I don't quite understand the Narn. The Narn are a post-war society, and I'm wondering what kind of economy and culture that they have. I mean, they do appear to be extremely religious.
Mhm.
The thing is that they are likely an egalitarian um society, but even in this, they don't know how to um adequately depict them, because these are still human writers that were also raised under capitalism, and they pretty much have um a skewed perspective with, in my opinion, a lack of creativity of what things could look like outside, of what we already know. And there's still a huge demonization of socialism and communism, and a gross misunderstanding of what those are. So they could definitely be leaning towards communist, but there's no freaking way in the world that that was going to be highlighted positively on television
Ooh,
back in the 80s. Shoot, let alone today.
especially in the
Mm.
90s because that's
Sorry,
like
90s.
yeah, that's right post the fall of the Soviet Union. So
Mm.
they're not gonna say anything overtly that is favorable towards socialism or communism.
Yeah.
And
What are your
also
thoughts on that, though? Do you think that they could have been like a communist or, egalitarian leaning society with the Narn?
the Narn, I don't know because they're largely portrayed as kind of like an outlaw economy. They do a lot of weapons trading. They do a lot of contraband and smuggling stuff. Because I
Mm.
swear to God, they would get Jakar on and off of that station with nobody knowing. And I'm like, how are y'all doing that? Y'all be knowing some
Because
stuff that don't
they're
nobody. Like, Garibaldi didn't
exactly.
even know. you know?
But that's my whole point. Is because the types of societies that I am guessing that they might be in alignment with remind me of places like, what is the one, I think it's in South America, babe, where they are always working together and everybody is taken care of, and they just make sure that like everybody's pay is equal across the board, and um there's no like real rich people. There is a whole name of these
um,
people, and I
In
you,
South
wish.
all right.
Africa, I could
Thank
I could
you.
think like Switzerland or Denmark that are similar to that, but
See,
I
what
don't
you're
know of any.
describing are so many different society, so many different groups. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Babe, we've talked about these people 50 million 11 times though. And I know it's in the south or the southern part of the hemisphere, I believe.
I,
Freak. I'm gonna be
I don't,
frustrated. I can't remember that now.
the only thing that I can think of that where people are following a certain type of model is not necessarily communism, but it's more egalitarian, which are the Zapatistas in Chiapas.
Thank you. I knew
Uh,
you
Um,
knew what I was talking about, and that's what I was
I
saying.
didn't know what you were talking about,
No, I'm
but
saying that I knew that you knew. I'm not saying that you knew that you knew.
what?
hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
that makes sense.
but
Okay.
Thank you,
the
Mel. Yes.
if there were a more egalitarian society, that would be like the Minbari, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't have a specific hierarchy until the warrior caste tried to do their coup. Um, and I guess they have like philosophical antagonisms. Because remember at the end where those two people who are training the Rangers, there's like, yes, we need to get that warrior caste nonsense out of your head, you know. um, so there's conflict between the way people see society, but the society itself seems largely egalitarian, especially when they're like, Minbari don't kill Minbari, Minbari don't lie, you know, all of those things, or they try to save each other's face, so they will lie. Uh, um,
They say they don't lie, but they do.
yeah.
They do. Yeah.
That kind of culture more so reminds me of like the the indigenous tribes where they shun um an in and this might be the wrong way to describe it, but an independence, right? They
Um,
rely on one another. So when they go and get a bull, or they, kill a bison and then return the meat to the village, there's the shaming of the meat kind of
yeah, yeah,
situation.
I hear what you're saying. So
To
to keep people from feeling all high and mighty, like, oh, you need me to provide for you. Yeah.
right.
Uh,
But when I was thinking of like the Zapatistas, and correct me if I'm wrong, they are, fighting against capitalism to, try to keep themselves free from being colonized, right?
Mhm.
so the Zapatistas have been they've been working and fighting for several decades. Um, it's a combination of leftists and indigenous leaders. They had to like reshape and relearn everything for it to be something that functions and works. Um, the indigenous tribes in Mexico have been colonized because of colonization of the Americas has been an awful thing. But for the leftists who came from the cities, they their whole thing is like, yeah, down with capitalism. But then the indigenous tribes people were like, yeah, but we not doing the way y'all doing either. Like y'all gotta listen to us. And so they had to reframe themselves and reshape things for it to actually work. And it's been an amazing project. A lot of leftists from America go and volunteer in Chiapas and to learn from the Zapatistas. And they start to learn a little bit. They learn different perspectives because a lot of what American leftists do is they read a couple of books from Marx and maybe some Lenin, and then they're like, I know exactly everything we need to do. And then they run into real people who are doing these things, and they're like, oh, I don't know anything. And,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think the Narn have been doing that. I think the Narn have been resting on their spirituality, and they have a pluralistic spirituality. The Book of Jaquan, the Book of Jakar, the other spiritual leaders that they get to be part of when they
Yeah.
decide their line, which is interesting. That kind of reminds me of the Yoruba. They
Mm.
have
Okay.
they have the different orishas that they follow. Uh,
Mhm.
and I say Yoruba because that covers that covers several regions. There are a lot of
Yeah.
different tribes and a lot of different cultures and ethnicities that follow different deities, and
Mhm.
so it's like you have kind of a buffet. A buffet of gods and spirits that you can choose from, and whichever one is gonna get you where you're gonna be centered in yourself, that's where you go. Um,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yoruba,
feels like this the Narn.
yeah, Yoruba and Hindu kind of have that in common. Whereas, like, if you practice Hindu, you can choose which deity fits you the best.
Mm,
But in Yoruba, there you either choose which God fits you the best, or a group of people test you and study you to see which God
mm,
fits you the best. Which
wow.
deity? They don't really consider them gods,
Yeah.
but the deities. It's it's kind of fun. You learn a lot about yourself, learning about those deities and saying, I don't fit that or I fit that, blah blah blah.
Mm,
And I absolutely love that about both Hindu and Yoruba. But also with the Narn, remember Jakar is a part of a family dynasty that is
yes,
a
that's
part of the,
right.
and he was the last of them because the Centauri had killed all the other ones. And so it's almost like a monarchy, but a group monarchy, which is kind of
Yeah.
unique. I've never heard of a group monarchy, a monarchy,
Oh, no, I like
and
you.
he
I like the Narnity.
monarchy. Oh, it's been a long day, but yeah, it is an monarchy. It's not a monarchy; it's an monarchy. Um, and him choosing they're also coming out of this group monarchy which kind of makes sense, but also kind of doesn't make sense because it's still a monarchy. You're still choosing people based on their bloodline,
Mm,
even though we don't know what they did with that bloodline because we in on Earth have monarchies where they inbred so bred that their brains
yeah.
don't work. So that's not a
Yeah.
good thing.
Mm.
Um, but they his that form of that was broken up by the Centauri coming to take over and actually taking the lives of all the people in those monarchies, completely destroying their history, which is very
Yeah.
reminiscent to real life because
Yeah.
we have cultures in American indigenous and African and anywhere where colonization happened, where they just kind of strip you of all of your culture, all of your foundations, your government, whatever. They just make sure they just strip you of all of that. And then when they leave, they're like, "Well, we're not pestering them anymore. They should be fine." Like, but you took that away all of their foundation. A lot of people use that as a excuse for saying that certain people were better off being colonized because they're not doing well right now that they've left them behind, but they left them behind with absolutely nothing, no structure, no resources, no nada. And that's
No, they
where I
left
are.
them behind with debt to what do they call it? Reparations to the people who caused the harm.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and
The
I don't know
French.
how financial reparations can restore you taking away their government, their culture, their resources. You've destroyed the land. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about how from photos from space, you can't see the Great Wall of China, but you can see the segregation in South Africa, where the
Wow.
apartheid was. You can
Wow.
literally see
Okay.
where the ground has been is basically gray and destroyed, and then where the whites lived, it looks perfectly fine. They
Wow.
completely destroyed that land. They took all their resources. They basically salted the land so bad that it can be seen from space. And this is what I see with the Nar. The Centauri has taken stripped it of every livable aspect. And then it's like, but we left them 100 years ago. They should be okay, right? Like they have nothing to build on for the last 100 years,
Right.
but their
Yep.
spirit. So all they have is their supposed to their spirituality, which is just an aspect of their mind. You can't build anything outside of spirituality on that.
Let's take a look at the characters and some of the story because I think the development of this whole thing moving forward is pretty interesting. I'm gonna start off with my good old pal Garibaldi. I think his is a very complex story, and in this, you guys know I make fun of him because as a human person, he's kind of awful. Um, he starts off as like relatively adjusted. He's super snarky. He's a goofball. He's a joker, and then Sinclair gets reassigned. Garibaldi gets shot in the back, and then that's when things take a turn. But in that first season, we get to see what some of his issues might be. He doesn't trust anybody. He does have an issue with alcohol. The only person that he trusts and cared about is Sinclair. Sinclair leaves. Season 2 pops up. Sheridan's there, and Sheridan's like, "Hey there, I'm your new captain." And Garibaldi is like, "I don't know you." And in my mind, I'm like, "Of course you don't know him. He just got assigned yesterday, bro. Chill out." Um, in that whole as he was developing a relationship, I'm getting some feedback.
You are?
Yeah,
Oh, is that my?
sorry.
Is it for me?
I think so.
Hold on. Is that better?
Let me
My
check.
headphones
One,
are
two,
telling me.
1, 2. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as he's developing a relationship with Sinclair and the folks, we see that Garibaldi with his personal issues is starting to kind of spiral. And it also, you see the problem with his friends' relationships also starting to fall apart. Him and Zach have this great tug of war because they start off, because Zach starts off as kind of like a blue collar guy, and he just doesn't care, right? And then he joins Night Watch, and Garibaldi's like, "Hey, you signing up to be a snitch? We might need to have to talk about this." And he's like, "I don't care. It's an extra 50 credits a week. I don't know." And so their friendship is fractured. Garibaldi gets kidnapped and reprogrammed, and he sells out Sheridan. He isolates himself from everybody. And when we find out what the truth about that whole situation is, we learn the truth about Garibaldi, because Bester says all of this was you. We left this in you. You did this yourself. I didn't expect you to quit, but it served our purposes. And so Garibaldi was on the edge the entire time, but he used something. He used his humor and his relationships to kind of like maintain. When he isolated himself, that's when he jumped headfirst into alcoholism, headfirst into his depression, and lashing out at people to the point where he was cursing out Lise for her trying to figure out like, "Hey, bro, something's wrong with you. You need to get it together." And he's like, "Nope. When I feel like I'm out of control, this is what I can control." And it's like, as a audience member, especially me being critical of the show, I'm like, yeah, Garibaldi's a terrible person. But they're touching on his alcoholism, his fear, his sense of isolation, his distrust of the world. And they don't ever find an actual solution. They just give him another thing to kind of keep him distracted from it. And I applaud that, because you don't need happy endings for everything. But I also applaud that they didn't make it this super simple cliche story or issue. It was it's this multi-layered character who has a lot of problems. And if I remember right, he was kind of a fan favorite anyway. But in the end, he's by himself. And the thing that brings him joy is hurting. Granted, he's going after billionaires and board members, but it's hurting other people.
Right. And then we never got to find out if he killed Bester's ass or not. Damn.
No. Yeah. I think like they kind of glorified his toxic masculinity. Like, even though he was a protector, he's kind of an asshole about it.
Yeah, but there was also his mask. That was also his mask, you know.
Yeah, which is a part of toxic masculinity. Yeah. Like, don't show your feelings. You hide them. You're not supposed to have feelings, and then you bottle them up so much that you need to drown yourself in other bottles.
Double entendre.
I like doing that. Read my books. Oh wait.
Now
that was lit. Good job.
Garibaldi's mirror is Londo. They're almost the same character, except I think Garibaldi had more power than Londo to start off with, because he was a security officer. Londo was an ambassador. And remember, he was sent to Babylon 5 because people thought, like, we need to get rid of this guy, give him the most useless job to, ever, so we can get him out the way. And come to find out, that job ends up being, like, for a short time, the most important for the Centauri government. And then for the foreseeable future, the job that helped usher in the fall of the Centauri Republic. But here's the mirror. Garibaldi had friends. Londo craved friendship. And every turn that he had looking for friends, especially his human friends, they were like, "Nah, I don't want to hang out with you." And then his own people, the Centauri, they either wanted to use him or to push him away. The one Centauri friend that he had, he murdered in a duel.
Friends. How many of us have them?
And his assistant was kind of like someone he could have friended, but he kept treating him like crap.
Yeah. Because he
Even
kept
though he
hanging on
had
to the old ways. He's like, I'm trying to teach you
uh-huh.
to be like the way we were. And he's like, nah,
But
bro,
he
that's not
was
The
gonna
way
work.
we were is what got you here friendless.
Mm-hmm.
right. And he was so he had that in him to be to that social justice, and like we kind of compared him to having autism, where he had this strong sense of justice despite the fact that his culture teaches him not to.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, it's like he understand, and he cowered to it until, and we got to see him grow up and start standing up to it. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can get allies to do other things, or I've seen the example of other people doing things they're not supposed to do despite what their culture tells them, like Franklin. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Yeah.
Franklin may have been an influence on his name. I can't remember. I've been talking
Veer.
about him. Veer.
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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Veer was like, oh, Franklin did this, even though his government told him not to, and his society tells him that this is wrong. But he did what was right, and he decided to be just as sneaky and underhanded as Franklin and help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that comparison. I'm thinking back to Londo though, and how trying to work inside the system for reform doesn't work. And I know that Londo wasn't like actually trying to reform his system, but at some point he was having a conflict of what he's learning and experiencing on Babylon 5 and wanting to coexist versus what his, culture and homeland wanted, which is complete control and domination and annihilation of all the others.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody who is trying to, go inside the system and then we're going to fix it from the inside, you will end up with a situation that looks a lot like Londo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Um, I'm still trying to figure out how to do the comparison with Sinclair. I feel like whatever Sheridan's stories were going to be, they gave them to Sinclair, so they almost were the same character. Except I feel like Bruce Boxleitner brought a lot more charisma to the character. He wasn't so doom-ish. Um, he was an optimistic hero, and Sinclair was like the pessimistic hero. Um,
Yeah. I think like because of his trauma, they had different traumas. Like one had a trauma where he didn't have any power in what achievements he made, whereas the other had power, felt like he had power in the achievements that he had. Losing his wife was not something he had power in,
right.
and it was the fact that he respected her decisions and let her be her own person,
Yep.
that he lost her. And it wasn't his fault, it wasn't her fault, but he kind of still had regrets that she was able to go out and do that. And him being a hero of the Minbari War was something that he know that he earned, but he knew that it was earned by destroying people, and
Yeah.
he had guilt from it. Whereas our other captain, our first captain, um, he literally has no idea how he ended up surviving. He
Right.
has survival guilt.
Yep.
Like he literally has a gap in memory on how that happened. He's like, I'm just here. Yeah, I survived. Okay. Oh, how?
Yep. Like, yeah, survivor's guilt. Maybe that is where Sinclair and Sheridan connect, survivor's guilt, because um, remember Sheridan's wife died on Zahadum, and he's left behind, and his whole thing is like, why me? Why now? And you know, I don't know how many on this panel have lost loved ones, but those questions come up when you've lost a loved one, because you start to you start thinking deeply about death and like when it happens and what could have I done different and all of that stuff. And it does make you feel powerless. It makes you feel like you are at the mercy of whatever the universe decides. And when you do flip that coin with Sinclair on one side and Sheridan on the other, Sinclair had no agency whatsoever. In fact, when he left the station, he was being reassigned by higher powers.
Mm-hmm.
Sheridan comes in and he's challenging destiny, and he defies death. He defies the gods per se, the old ones, and he, against all odds, helps to forge a type of peace in the galaxy that everybody thought was impossible. So he kind of goes beyond that. The only agency that he had was, okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear all this stuff about destiny, but I don't like that. I think we need to do our own thing. Yeah, I think our own thing is better. Speaking of destiny, what are y'all? Tell me about Delenn's story arc. What was y'all's thoughts on the way Delenn started and where she ended up?
Yo, her story was wild as heck, because wasn't she like told in the beginning that she was gonna like, I don't know, she had some kind of prophecy bestowed upon her.
I think it was she was gonna see she was gonna see the end of the Great Council, and she was literally the person to do it.
And then she has to like be metamorphed into some, human Minbari hybrid, and now she's, facing alienation. There we go, that's the word, from her people, and then having to traverse like showing her importance to both sides to eventually rise to the first ladyship.
Yep. That is kind of funny because they do mention how the Minbari didn't want to listen to her because she wasn't 100% Minbari anymore. And it's like, are you still Minbari? Do we need to listen to you? Because looking at you, look at me and look at you. You different.
Yeah. Yeah. And they still thought low of the humans.
Yeah.
Even though they know the Great Council told them, no, we're not going to fight them anymore. They didn't know why. I don't know if they ever told them why.
No, I don't think they did. I think maybe the main cast members, like, they know what the deal with the Minbari were. Which, the more and more I think about it, I kind of feel like, you remember all those times where Delenn was upset with Sheridan for not like saying that he was married in the past? I'm kind of like, you know what, woman? You of all people have no right to be upset for anything. She's the one that started the Earth Minbari War. She is the reason why humanity almost went extinct.
Yeah.
She might
her
need,
secrets wasn't that bad. Like, you can move on from a marriage. It's okay. But you almost destroyed his entire race.
Yes.
Him
do as I say, not as I do. She stay projecting.
Yep.
And I think that's a trauma that may be an example of trauma response, or a trauma response can cause cognitive dissonance, and it made her more realistic to have that cognitive dissonance, even though it is very annoying. And it's kind of like, you're not self-aware, but why do we expect characters to be self-aware? Because if they were, they wouldn't be human. Well, she's not human, is she? Why did I say that?
She's half human. She's half human.
But that's the Star Trek joke. We're all human here anyway.
Yeah. Other than Franklin, Delenn is probably the most important humanoid in the galaxy. She started all these wars. She helped lead the war to end the influence of the shadows and the the Vorlons. She helped fight in the Earth. Well, she didn't fight in the Earth Civil War, but she, White Stars and all that stuff. She fought in the Minbari Civil War. She fought to help the Interstellar Alliance in their potential civil war. She was trying to stop the war with the fall of Centauri. She's all up in the mix. She started all of it. She was in all of it. And then she has the audacity to outlive Sheridan.
Her species, she's kind of like a Vulcan. It's the Babylon 5 version of a Vulcan. It's like you're all logical and all that stuff, and you overthink things and you know more, but at the same time you're kind of full of shit.
Yes,
ways you are full of shit. Like,
yes. Let's talk about Franklin for a second. Greatest human in all of the galaxy, all of the universe. Chief medical officer, full-blown hippie, trying to save lives of invaders that are dying on the deck. His dad, a war... Would you say he's not necessarily a warmonger, but he's straight up a soldier? He's like, I know how to murder people. I can get it done.
Yeah. It's like he's playing Empire and he's taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
Age of Empire, the game. Because he's not actually going out to fight himself, he's sending other soldiers.
Yeah. But Franklin has the Messiah complex. He thinks that he knows right and he knows how to save everybody's life. If he can't save your life, he's gonna give his life. Mm-hmm. He had a couple of girlfriends that didn't make it, some that did. He
player.
The doctor knows how to get around.
He understands anatomy.
So I have heard you for 5 seasons call him the greatest human on the planet, and I don't generally look to doctors as being the greatest. Like, I really have a rub and issue with them, and I align them a little closer to the police and fuck the police than I do with being actual humanitarians who are actually trying to help or fix things. And I'm pretty sure that is my skewed view of our pharmaceutical industry.
It is
that doctors are following, and it is not helping people. And so to see Franklin in this view is it's a little like difficult for me to accept at times, and I have to suspend my disbelief that the types of medical procedures that they are using in Babylon actually are helping people, because they're using just straight up science and technology, and there's not a great representation of the holistic method. And the one time that it did come up, when I will call it some kind of ancient technology that likely came from some indigenous, the life form from some planet or another, he was flat out calling them quacks behind, having a medical technology that was outside of the norm, right? And when there was proof that this could work in some manner, he did change his perspective on it. And I think that's what kind of gives me a buy-in into his greatest, human in the galaxy kind of rhetoric. Mm-hmm. Because it is not very common that people hold a strong opinion, and then when presented with the evidence, they actually change their perspective on the spot. Ooh, I was wrong. Let me correct my direction and go in this other path. And then for that same technology to be used for us to lose Marcus, oh my goodness. And I don't think we had to lose Marcus in order to save Ivanova. What's his name? If Franklin had been there he may have been able to like help balance that out, or maybe even used multiple people to pour their life, a piece of their life force into Ivanova. But that's doing a lot of
Yeah.
thought from my side. I'm cool. Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah. I wanted to tag on to that. Franklin did change his mind because he was talking about, I don't think he was saying necessarily like that I can't remember the name of the doctor. He didn't, I don't think he was saying like she was a quack. It's just that he has seen so many people take advantage of people with quackery
Mm-hmm.
that he was skeptical that her stuff was working. And then when he saw that it was working and they figured it out, he was like, "Oh, this is much more dangerous than you led me to believe. It works, but the cost is another person's life." And I think that's why they like to use Franklin. Like those are the type of stories that they use Franklin for. One, it was his Messiah complex. His whole, I can save a life, but then the question for the episode or for that story was, at what cost? We learned that when he saved the life of that child by doing surgery, and the cost was the religious sovereignty and the religious beliefs of the parents, and they were just like, well, you violated our religious beliefs, we need to take the next step and take this kid's life to save his soul. And so Franklin was put in a situation where nothing he did could save that child, and the cost was either their religious dignity or his ego, honestly his ego, um, of being the savior. And then later it was different species. Remember that 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 the it was the episode where that disease was passing. The disease was passing to all of those people, and it was basically just wiping them out. And they got the cure just after the last one died.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
Franklin had the cure. He figured it out, but it was too late. Hurt his ego again. And then he turned internally and he started to abuse stems.
Substances.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't able to save anybody's life. He wasn't actually able to save people's lives. And he took it out on himself. And then he had to go on walkabout to find himself. Got stabbed. Figured it out. Bada bing, bada bing. Franklin's okay.
And like his trauma is that he grew up with the authority being in charge
Yep.
is the thing taking lives. His
Yep.
father. Like, how do you reconcile with the thing that keeps you existing being the same thing that destroys lives?
Yeah.
And that he, until he could, even after he reconciled with his father in such a way that was very um not so, I'm not going to be no contact, but maybe a semi contact, like I'm going to show you respect, but I do not think that you are all that you say you are.
Yep.
It affected how he did medicine. Like, there's either I'm going to save you and there's nothing else, because I can't let that win, because I can't not protect other lives. Like,
Right.
he grew up protecting his mom and his siblings because he was the only man in the house, because dad was out killing people.
Yeah, but also remember the story. The reason why he even does it is because his dad was held hostage, but the doctor that held him hostage kept him alive. And then when the other
Mhm,
people came, they murdered the doctor as a traitor. And
mhm.
not Sheridan, Franklin's whole point was that doctor kept my dad alive and he came home, even though he was the enemy. I need to do the same thing. I'm going to thank the universe for this by returning the favor, paying it forward. And that's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he still has that trauma response of growing up with his father. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
because he resented him so much, he needed to be complete opposite. So his father would do anything, even give up other people's lives to complete a goal. So he's doing anything to complete the goal of saving other people's lives, including giving himself up. He becomes the antithesis of his father.
Yeah.
which is like you can't live your life based on what other people do. Lanier. Um,
um let's jump forward a little
Shade.
bit. Hold on, let's jump let's jump forward a little bit to talk about this the overall stories, and we can touch back on some of the characters. We're about an hour into this, so I wanted to try to move us a little bit. We'll definitely go over. That's fine. In general, the story is pretty familiar. We talked a bit about it. The growing tensions of the universe with the post Minbari Earth Minbari War. Humans are very pessimistic because they know that they lost the war, even though they're told that they believe that they won. The Minbari have no clue why they stopped murdering humans. Uh, and then all of the other species are in the mix because they're trying to figure out how do we coexist. They come up with Babylon 5 after trying this 4 times before. They come up with Babylon 5, and they have the Alliance of Non-Aligned Worlds, or the Council of Non-Aligned Worlds. And they're trying to figure out how do we prevent these galaxy-wide species-ending wars? And they have basically their type of United Nations. Well, as Commander Ivanova says in season 2, it failed.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, season 3. Season 3, she's like, Babylon 5 was supposed to be the last best hope for peace in the galaxy, and it failed. And then they opened up into war. The war is the thing that I think is so interesting because it's not just the Shadows versus the Vorlons. There are so many different players moving in this, and largely it's what's happening on Earth. It's what's happening on Earth. The coup of President Clark. He takes over with a far right wing authoritarian regime. They deputize Night Watch to be some snitches. They have what do they call the Ministry of Peace?
Yeah.
The Ministry of Peace, Psychor, Night Watch, and then basically the executive branch. They're trying to impose authoritarian order over Earth Force and human colonies. And their whole thing is, if y'all don't know the analogy, if you can't read between the lines, it's conservatism. It's Earth first, other species we don't need to pay attention to because we need to take care of ourselves. They're filthy, stinking aliens, and so we don't care if they die.
No,
Say that again.
We don't want no aliens in here.
Right. And then the reason why they got there, for one, I do believe because this all happened before Morden really kind of dug his hands into this, but Clark was trying to take over the government even before they came across the Shadows. All that stuff was set up. It's just the Shadows let it happen a little bit faster. And then you had the Minbari who were being fractured from the inside, and they broke the Great Council, and all of the casts were separated. The Centauri, they were gaining influence because they were getting the stuff that they wanted. If we want to say who the Centauri remind us of, they can remind us of several groups here on Earth. Because remember, they started out by blowing up. So they started bombing colonies in their periphery, and they're like, no, we need to make sure that our land is secure. That sounds a lot like what Russia was doing with Georgia and Ukraine, several times. They colonized and then recolonized the Narn. That sounds like either Israel or South Africa, even though we don't have a return to apartheid in South Africa. But it's familiar. And then what America's doing to Venezuela and trying to threaten everybody else is these moves to develop military might in a region. That's what the Centauri were doing, but they were doing it with the aid of the Shadows. the dark
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. The spirituality behind why they do their evil. This is
Mm-hmm.
what the shadows represent, like the shadows and
The Vorlons.
um the Vorlons represent the spiritual
Yeah.
motivation
Yeah.
behind doing a lot of things,
Yeah.
whereas the harm that people do are the shadows, and the self-realization that people do are the Vorlons, and that's kind of weird.
No,
Because we
it's
kind of see
interesting.
the Vorlons as the positive, but at the same time, when we compare them to things that are done in real life, the shadows are the ones that we see going along with the Abrahamic religions.
All right, let's get ourselves out of here. Thank y'all for joining us for this episode of Voices in Hyperspace. I'm sorry. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Voices in Hyperspace. Be sure to continue the conversation on our Facebook. Join us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and share us with your friends on all of your streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon. I'm Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Legendary Black Lion. Join me and let's have some really cool sci-fi talk. Tell them about yourself. Tell them about you, Mel.
I'm Mel Asylum, author, and you can find me at melsrebellion.com. You can find me on TikTok, where I go live Saturdays at 6 Eastern Standard Time, and we can chat about science fiction. And on my website, Mel's Rebellion, you can read the first chapter of my book, Unrooting the System, and find links to buying it.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday. You can find me at a poker table.
Until next episode, we'll see you out there. Peace.